Yeah, this is Sydney Town Hall on the 7th of February 2025, and this is an emergency protest by the Palestinian Action Group in regards to Trump saying that he's going to own Gaza. Yeah, just coming up to it now. It's due to kick off in 10 minutes or so. There's a reasonable number of cops around. There's horses back there, usual groups with their solidarity and the socialists, etc. Palestine is not for sale sign the lady has there. I don't know that there's going to be a march, but maybe there is. There's a guy, these mainstream media people that rescue them, the guy puts his arm out in front. Yeah, like I said, plenty of cops, usual sort of media presence, weapons out of our suburbs. Not sure what that one is. And it should be held down here, I'd say, in the square at Town Hall, but there's a lot of people floating around up the top at the moment. But it seems like there's a stage down here. We've got the New South Wales Teachers Federation. This is the Socialist Alliance, and handing out the Green Left newspaper. Plenty of other mainstream media set up over there, so it looks like there's going to be a big media presence. The numbers aren't enormous yet, but you know, it is. It's 10 minutes away, but people are notoriously late. The big Palestinian flag there, so I'd say it's going to be. Oh, there's the speaker up the top, the microphone at the top. So I'd say it's going to be held up there. So let's settle in and see what happens.
is bright. The future of the Palestine struggle is very bright. Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Down, down with occupation! Up, up with liberation! Down, down with occupation! Up, up with liberation! Down, down with occupation! Up, up with liberation! Donald Trump, go to hell! Take Netanyahu there as well! Donald Trump, go to hell! Take Netanyahu there as well! Alright, thanks so much everyone for coming out yet again. If people could keep moving into the square, there's going to be hopefully hundreds more arriving as we're going, so if people can keep moving in and filling up in front of us here, that would be wonderful. My name's Josh Leith from the Palestine Action Group, Sydney. I'll be co-emceeing the rally today with Amal Nasser, another one of our great Palestinian comrades from the Palestine Action Group. Want to acknowledge, of course, that we're gathering and protesting here today again on stolen Aboriginal land. This is the land of the Gadigal people. We pay respects to any Indigenous people here today, to their elders, and we absolutely, as always, pledge that we stand in complete solidarity with the struggle against racism in this country and against the racist state in this country and for Aboriginal liberation in this country as well. And of course, it's painfully obvious that the enemies of the Palestinian people, the supporters of genocide, are also the enemies of Aboriginal people in this country. Just look at Peter Dutton, look at the shameful record of this country as well, and I don't just mean in the past, I mean today. You look again at the Closing the Gap report, and it is yet another indictment on this racist country and the way Indigenous people are treated here. Now, of course, the impetus for us to call this emergency protest tonight are Donald Trump's absolutely sickening comments made just the other day as he gave a press conference alongside the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. And the first thing we should say, I think, is that Benjamin Netanyahu, the moment he stepped foot on US soil, the first thing that should have happened is that he should have been arrested. This is a man with an arrest warrant out on his head from the International Criminal Court for the war crimes he has carried out in Gaza for the last 16 months, along with former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. Secondly, as Trump explained and described the devastation that has been wrought in the Gaza Strip, the fact that every building has been destroyed, the thousands killed, the fact that that has been turned, this once beautiful place has been turned into a landscape of devastation and death. He was standing right next to the man who did that. And there's Netanyahu standing 2 meters away, smirking and grinning as Trump outlines the war crimes and the genocide that those two between them and the US empire more generally under previous management have carried out in the Gaza Strip for the past 16 months. And that's where we have to start tonight, because, you know, now that Trump has made these sickening remarks where, of course, not only has he called openly for the complete ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip, for a continuation of Gaza, of course he can't help himself being the parasite billionaire that he is in a regime and an administration run by the most low-down, scumbag, billionaire filth that this world's ever seen. People like Elon Musk, people like all these buddies who are now looting the American government to enrich themselves even more. Not only does he call for the ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza, but what's his vision? His vision is for no Palestinians to be allowed to live in Gaza anymore. Instead, it can be turned into Mar-a-Lago, some beachside resort for billionaires, for the world's people, he says. The world's people except for the Palestinians who live there. And of course, we have to remember that the majority of the Palestinian population in Gaza themselves are refugees. They don't live in Gaza. They should be living in the rest of Palestine. They were driven out in 1948. They were driven out in 1967. They've been driven out year after year after year. Gaza is home to some of those people, but actually all of Palestine is home to millions of those Palestinians. And as Trump makes these disgusting remarks, and of course it does signal yet another terrible chapter in the entire history of Israel's oppression of the Palestinian people, that we have the US president openly saying these kinds of despicable things. But at the same time, we have to recognize that what Trump has said out loud is what the US and Israel have been doing in Gaza for 16 months. And this is so important because we have now many in the media, finally, because Trump has said it, because he said it so openly and so brazenly, now they're using the words ethnic cleansing. Some of them even use the word genocide. And they should be using those words. That is exactly what Trump is calling for. But it's not just what Trump is calling for, it's what has been happening for 16 months. That's what we've been saying since day one. This was always Israel's agenda in Gaza. This was always the United States agenda in Gaza. They've been doing it. So it's not just that, oh, Trump has said some outlandish things and, oh, you know, that's a bit far-fetched, probably that won't happen. And maybe not all of it will happen, obviously. Like, I don't imagine the US will actually send troops to Gaza. They don't need to because they've got Israel's troops to do their dirty work in Gaza. Maybe they won't be able to build beachside resorts for their billionaire mates in Gaza anytime soon. Not least because the Palestinian people are not going anywhere. But at the same time, we shouldn't be too comforted by the words of the liberal media when they say, oh, this is just another one of Trump's outlandish comments. Because again, this is exactly what they have been doing in Gaza for 16 months. I just had someone, I believe it was from Channel 9, ask me, oh, some people are saying that this would be a breach of international law if if Trump were to do this. Yeah, no shit! What do you think they've been doing for 16 months? Abiding by international law? This is not new! Wake up! This is what we've been saying for 16 months! This is exactly what they've been doing! When Israel killed 50,000 people, in reality more like 200,000 people. When they bombed every school, every hospital, every mosque, every piece of civilian infrastructure in Gaza, what do you think they were doing? Defending themselves? All along we've been saying their agenda is genocide and ethnic cleansing. And now Trump has said out loud what they've actually been doing for 16 months. So please, wake up. I don't mean you, I mean the media. You're very awake. Now, I just want to say before we move on to our speakers, of course, the last thing we have to mark as we kick off this rally is our wonderful, brave Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. What a man. What a man. What can you say about this guy? What does it take? What does it take for Anthony Albanese to, like, what can you even say? To hear these open calls for ethnic cleansing, which even the bloody capitalist media in this country say the words ethnic cleansing. Even they say it. I saw even the occasional News Corp article use the words. Some of the other articles said, oh, isn't Trump a great thinker? What a great guy. Maybe this can bring peace. But some of them even use those words, ethnic cleansing. And there's Albanese, who refuses to condemn this open call for genocide and ethnic cleansing from the US president. And, you know, there's a whole lot of absolutely pathetic world leaders who have been trying to kiss Trump's ass ever since he got elected. But even many of them have come out and condemned Trump's words. Even Keir Starmer in the UK, that utterly craven, other useless Labour leader, has come out and condemned Trump's statements. But yet, here we are, Anthony Albanese still has not come out and actually said that he's against the open ethnic cleansing of Gaza. He's a disgrace. He's a disgrace to humanity. I won't say he's a disgrace to Australia, because Australia is a disgraceful country anyway, in many ways. But he's a disgrace to ordinary people everywhere in the world. An utterly despicable, pathetic, gutless human being. All right, on that note, I'm going to pass over our first speaker. Our first speaker is the wonderful Mehreen Faruqi, Green Senator. Mehreen is our first Muslim woman to be elected into our parliament. She's been a tireless fighter for the interests of the Palestinian people, for women's rights, against oppression more generally in that place, that otherwise odious den of infamy called the Australian Parliament. Thank you so much, Mehreen.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I acknowledge the sovereign owners of the lands we gathered on, the Gadigal people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. We know that sovereignty was never ceded. We are on stolen land. And we also know that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Just yesterday, in an utterly despicable move, or just a few days ago rather, in an utterly despicable move, the US President Donald Trump stood alongside the fugitive war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. That's exactly who he is, and proposed the occupation of Gaza, and proposed permanently displacing millions of Palestinians, millions of indigenous Palestinians, in a move to grab land and so-called develop it. And just today, he doubled down on his despicable plan to take over and erase Palestinians from Gaza. But has the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese even shown a whiff of criticism or condemnation of this plan to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from Gaza? Has he said he condemns this? Well, you know what? If he can't speak up now, he is never going to speak up. He is never going to speak up. Let's be sure of that. Let's be sure of that. Yesterday in the Senate, I asked Foreign Minister Penny Wong I asked her directly at Senate question time if she would break her silence and condemn Trump and make clear that Australia would take no part in these actions. What do you think she said? Exactly that. Nothing. But sadly, this is not a surprise for any of us. I mean, yesterday she was still tying herself up in knots to avoid answering my question, as she has done over the last 16 months of genocide. But what do you expect? What do you expect from a foreign minister who sat there at the inauguration of Trump and said that it was a privilege to be there? Shame, absolute shame. I mean, we all know that the Albanese government is complicit in genocide and timid as a mouse when it comes to calling out Israel's war crimes and atrocities. But if I'm really honest with you, even I thought that surely even this cowardly Labour government must denounce plans of ethnically cleansing Palestinians from Gaza. How wrong was I? And how pathetic can Labour be? So on the one side, we have Prime Minister Albanese's pathetic failure to condemn Trump. And on the other hand, we have opposition leader Peter Dutton, who praises Trump. Calls him shrewd, calls him reasonable, calls him a big thinker. upside-down world, can I say that? But by refusing to condemn Trump and making deals with Dutton when writing laws for our country, Anthony Albanese is helping Trumpian politics come to this country. He cannot abrogate that responsibility. Under Albanese, Labour has become a hollow shell that stands for nothing, You know, when Trump became president the first time around, many people dismissed those of us who called him a dangerous authoritarian and a fascist. They said we were overreacting, that we had no idea what we were talking about. But this election of Trump last year has really struck fear into millions and millions around the world and in our country as well. And this fear was well justified. You might remember a few weeks ago, on just his first day in office, Trump exited the US from the Paris Climate Treaty. He repealed measures to support racial equity and discrimination against trans people and intersex people. He issued orders to increase deportations. He removed sanctions on violent Israeli settlers, and so much more, just in one day. Every one of these actions is catastrophic. This is a man who is deeply unfit to be in public office, let alone the most powerful public office in the world. This is a man who does not belong in the Oval Office. He belongs behind bars. And we know that Trump's actions have legitimized and emboldened racist, ableist, homophobic, far-right, white supremacist filth everywhere, including in this country. But I'm very proud that the Greens are fearlessly calling out Trump's dangerous agenda, as we have been doing from day one. Because we must do everything we can to stamp out Trump's hateful, science-denying, billionaire-loving politics out of this country. And to do that, the most urgent task for us is keeping Dutton's Trump-mirroring liberals out at this election. That is the most important task for us. But that does not mean giving Albanese and Labour a free pass. No way. We must fight back. Because for Labour, we have seen there is no red line as far as Palestinians are concerned. So we must hold the Albanese government to account for their inaction, for their silence, for their double standards, and for their betrayal of so many people who had placed their faith in them at the last election. So we must not forgive, and we must not forget. We must also remember that change is possible. All of you being here tells me that change is possible. Seeing the resistance of First Nations people makes me believe that change is possible. Seeing the resistance of Palestinians tells me that change is possible. But if we want change, we have to fight for it. And if we want change, we have to vote for it. Because that is the only way this country will stand up to the US empire. That is the only way that we will rip up that cooked AUKUS deal. That is the only way Palestine will be free. parties and politics in the harshest way possible. And can I tell you, we are ready for this fight. Fucking hell, we are ready for this fight. Are we ready for this fight? We are ready for this fight, so bring it on. Thank you so much, everyone.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Gaza will free us all! Zionism will fall! Gaza will free us all! Zionism will fall! Zionism will fall! Gaza is not for sale! Gaza is not for sale! Donald Trump belongs in jail! Gaza is not for sale! Donald Trump belongs in jail! Donald Trump belongs in jail! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Brick by brick, wall by wall, the occupation has to fall! Brick by brick, wall by wall, the occupation has to fall! Brick by brick, wall by wall, the occupation has to fall! Israel out of West Bank, Israel out of Gaza! Israel out of Palestine, long live the Intifada! Israel out of West Bank, Israel out of Gaza! Israel out of Palestine, long live the Intifada! Israel out of Palestine, long live the Intifada! Divest your many, many millions! Your profits are covered in the blood of Palestinians! Divest your many, many millions! Your profits are covered in the blood of Palestinians! Your profits are covered in the blood of Palestinians! Your profits are covered in the blood of Palestinians! Over the past week, we first saw Donald Trump welcome a war criminal with an ICC arrest warrant on his head freely into the United States. And while there, we witnessed Donald Trump threaten to annex the entirety of Gaza, to ethnically cleanse over 2 million Palestinians, to Egypt and to Jordan, and to take over Gaza
never ceded. Throughout the genocide, Palestinians have constantly been asked, how do we feel that we have been treated by politicians? And our thoughts on the political discussions occurring worldwide. And I think I speak for most Palestinians that when I say that we feel like we do not matter in the eyes of politicians. We have felt like pieces on a colonial chessboard, like a playing card to be thrown into the media's face for a sense of controversy. It has become clearer than ever that Palestinian lives are collateral damage. And that remains clear and became clearer after this supposed ceasefire was reached. Israeli politicians boasted and continue to
nothing else, what Trump has just said effectively, at least from the US's point of view, has already ripped up the Gaza ceasefire deal. It's only been in place for 3 weeks or so, and yet his comments have already said that that deal is worth nothing, and that Netanyahu and his far-right fascist government have a green light whenever they want to recommence the slaughter and the destruction of the Gaza Strip. And that again is something that our media should be reporting, should be talking about. They're not talking about it in that way. They're saying as though it's just some thing that maybe will happen in the future. Again, this has been happening, this is happening right now, and Trump has just said that Israel has a green light with a fresh new shipment of 2,000-pound bombs made in the USA to recommence the slaughter and the destruction of Gaza. And it's why we demand, and why we need to continue to demand, a permanent Israeli ceasefire. We demand that the Palestinians be allowed to rebuild Gaza, that aid must be allowed to enter Gaza unfettered and uncontrolled by the Israeli genocidal forces, that Israel get the hell out of the West Bank as well, that the war criminals who destroyed Gaza must face justice, and that every government in the world stop arming Israel. And we have to say it's particularly sickening again, the hypocrisy of our leaders, so-called, our politicians and the whole establishment in this country, who today are standing there in Parliament talking about passing new hate speech laws. Of course, you know, we're all against hate speech, but the danger, of course, is that those in power are rapidly trying to define criticism of Israel as hate speech, which is an absolute affront to humanity, to the Palestinian people, an affront to basic reason and logic. But this is their agenda here in this country. But anyway, at the same time as they talk about condemning and opposing hate speech, they won't even condemn the most powerful person in the world who says we should carry out an ethnic cleansing in Gaza. They won't condemn Elon Musk when he does Nazi salutes. And they want to pass hate speech laws? Like presumably that as soon as when Trump sets foot in Australia they'll arrest him, will they? Yeah, let's see. And with that I'm going to pass on to our next speaker, who hopefully a lot of you will recognise. He's a staunch supporter of the Palestinian cause. He's an anti-Zionist Jewish associate professor. His name is Peter Slizak. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Josh. It's a privilege to join all of you again. I've been missing our Sundays, but on this occasion, it's important that we meet and say some of the crucial matters that have to be said publicly. The news of the last day or so sounds like one of those jokes. You know, a convicted felon and an indicted war criminal walk into a bar. Well, the indicted war criminal, of course, is Prime Minister Netanyahu, and of course, the also criminal is President Trump. At the joint White House press conference, which we've been discussing, Mr. Trump said the United States will take over the Gaza Strip, and he said we will own it. What the fuck is he talking about? This is insane on a level that we haven't heard before, although in a certain way it's been the agenda for a long time for the entire Zionist movement. Gaza, on this account, would be ethnically cleansed, and the Palestinians would be moved to Jordan and Egypt. Of course, to their credit, they're refusing any such plan. This is all insane and delusional criminal fantasy. Trump said that the Palestinians would be settled in a place where they would not have to be worried about dying every day. Well, that means they would not be murdered by Israel using US-supplied bombs. Shame. And Trump also said we have an opportunity to do something that would be phenomenal, and it's been described as he said, the Riviera of the Middle East. Of course, he means a holiday resort not for the Palestinians, but for rich white people living in luxury on beachfront properties in place of the Palestinians. Shame on him. Of course, the whole point of it is that if the United States owns Gaza, as Trump says, it'll also own the territorial waters where there is a very rich supply, an untapped gas and oil, and which the Palestinians have never been allowed to develop. So Trump is now adding Gaza, along with his other insane plans, to take over Greenland, Panama and Canada, and maybe Northern Territory and Australia as well. Of course, the idea of forcing Palestinians from their homes is hardly new. Most of the Palestinians in Gaza are already refugees and descendants of those that were ethnically cleansed from their homes in what is now Israel. So after Israel has annihilated Gaza with US support, actually, by rights, the Palestinians of Gaza should return to their original homes and lands in historic Palestine. The Australian Professor Ben Saul, who's a special rapporteur in the UN, he said, quote, "When the world's most powerful country threatens to use force to take another country's land and expel its people, it's a red line where all responsible states who care about the rule of law and human rights need to stand up. Where's Albanese? Where's Wong? They're not standing up. They're remaining silent as they have for over a year." The New York Times reported that when President Trump announced his proposal for the United States to take ownership of Gaza, he shocked senior members of his own White House and government. Even Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia and the entire Muslim world have made it clear that this is delusional and it's unacceptable. Trump's comments were actually treated and greeted with shock and horror in Western and Arab capitals. Everyone is distancing themselves from this blatant backing for ethnic cleansing. So what has our Prime Minister Albanese said? He came out at a press conference, refused to answer the question, and said that he doesn't want to comment on what Trump is saying. Shame. In fact, of course, we mustn't forget that Albanese and Wong kept silence for most of the year, the 15 months of Israel's levelling of Gaza's homes, hospitals, schools, universities, libraries, everything in Gaza was flattened, and they said nothing. Shame indeed. Meanwhile, of course, that other wonderful Albanese, Francesca Albanese, said, she's a hero, and she said unequivocally, it's unlawful, immoral, and irresponsible. But the bombshell that shocked the world wasn't consequential enough for Albanese to say anything, only repeating the formula the Australian government's long-standing commitment to a two-state solution. Well, the two-state solution is dead. The Israelis have made sure that in the West Bank, it's impossible to have a viable state for the Palestinians. There are now over 700 illegal settlers in the West Bank, and the important point to make is that the 22% that would have been the West Bank and Gaza was generously and extraordinarily conceded as the possible state for the Palestinian future, the future Palestinian state. But even that is now not on the table. It's long been gone as a possibility. And so all of the talk of two states is now really just gaslighting, which Albanese and our government is responsible for. Shame. And I must mention, in our media, you would have been watching the court case about the wonderful Antoinette Lattouf from the ABC. It's extraordinary that the head of the ABC, the managing director, the editor-in-chief, he actually said that to post on social media using the words illegally occupied territories is anti-Semitic, for fuck's sake. How is that anti-Semitic? It's actually a legal ruling in international law. This is insane, but it provides a clue to the attitudes of senior management at the ABC and more widely, and the attitudes of our independent so-called broadcaster. There's been some interesting changes in the narrative that these are reflecting. Now that Israel has moved from destroying Gaza to ethnic cleansing, the narrative changes. One very good journalist has reported this very well. He said earlier, when they said that the IDF is the world's most moral army and it was a war of self-defense, and they were taking extraordinary measures to protect civilians, well, now they have to say, obviously, Gaza is uninhabitable. And it's a wasteland that has been carpet bombed into oblivion, and so Palestinians have to go. They can no longer say that they were using precision munitions targeting just Hamas. Earlier, they also said that Israel would never deliberately target civilian infrastructure, and to say so would be anti-Semitic. Well, now, of course, the Israeli apologists say, well, of course, we need to move the entire population of Gaza to Egypt because the whole of the civilian infrastructure and healthcare has been destroyed, and people can't live in Gaza. All of this, of course, to finally point out, all of this is a distraction from the terrible things that are also going on in the West Bank. Israel is now targeting the West Bank and perhaps wanting to repeat what it did in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing, which was always on the agenda. Of course, the West Bank is not run by Hamas, but by Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinian Authority, and they are really collaborators with Israel. Mahmoud Abbas actually refers to the security forces' collaboration with Israel as a sacred collaboration. Well, under this control, over 1,000 people now have been murdered since October 7. And at the weekend, Israel blew up large parts of the refugee camp in Jenin, turning it into rubble, and has already done in most of Gaza and now in South Lebanon as well. In the face of all this, the Australian political leaders have to show some decency and courage. Albanese must take immediate and decisive action to show that he and the government won't tolerate the US incitement to war crimes. So the following steps are widely and appropriately demanded. The Australian government has to immediately condemn Trump's statements and demand accountability from both Trump and Netanyahu from their incitement to violent crimes. And as everybody's been saying, they must demand the permanent ceasefire and not just the temporary halt in hostilities and the risk that Israel will begin again. The other important demand is that we must cut all military and economic ties to Israel. We must support the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement. And we should also expel the Israeli ambassador and use Australia's diplomatic channels. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Always will be land that was never seen. Meeting here tonight, and I'm glad to see so many people here. We're meeting here at I think a very grim time internationally and also for our own country. Others have spoken about the international events, the appalling international events that are happening, and if someone had said to me when I was an adolescent growing up in the shadow of the Holocaust that I would live in a country where the Prime Minister could not stand up and criticise or condemn a promise of ethnic cleansing, the practice of ethnic cleansing, I would not have believed them. I've been coming here to this place, roughly around here, to protest for about 55 years. I know it's an awfully long time. And I remember one other time when I remember feeling that real sense of urgency that we feel right now, and I'm sure all of you share this with me, that now is the time to stand up. And another evening when I felt that was the night of the dismissal, which this year is 50 years ago. And I really think the dismissal, when the government was dismissed, behind it were movements from the CIA, pressure and other things. We didn't understand that at the time, but I really do think that was a lost opportunity for Australia to be an independent country. And I say to anyone here, if there are any people who've chosen to say, as I've been hearing people say for 55 years, oh, we stay in the Labor Party to make change from within. Well, all I can say is you have spectacularly failed, and I suggest you resign. One of the very bad things that has happened this week is the hate speech, as Josh said and Mehreen said, the hate symbols legislation, which will be backed up for mandatory sentencing. Now, to those younger people, I can tell you there's been a very long fight. There is a huge amount of research that shows that mandatory sentencing is very damaging to democracy. And you could very easily have an intellectually disabled kid who is encouraged, even paid some money, to go and put a slogan somewhere up there. It might even be a picture of Nasrallah or something like that, and they could end up with a mandatory jail sentence. And all of that has happened in the space of a few days, and the Labor Party has enabled that. They have betrayed their own policies. They have betrayed us, everybody. But there's other more sinister things, like today in Melbourne, I note that the far-right group Advance, very well funded, is teamed up with right-wing Zionists to campaign to put the Greens last as a trial run for what we can expect in the federal election, to put the Greens last. Due and only due to the Greens speaking up for justice for Palestine. Now, I recognise that in every sphere, and it's really mounting up the amount of persecution, but I've seen the Teachers' Federation here tonight. I know the nurses. I know teachers who've been stopped from doing what they think should be their honest job with their students. We've seen the nurses and midwives. We've seen people in the arts, and there's a real battle going on within academia, where I was for about 20 years. However, tonight, and each of those spheres deserves special attention. But tonight I want to speak about the media, and Peter has already mentioned Antoinette Lattouf. Now, we rallied outside the Supreme Court on Monday morning, and, a lot of support for Antoinette. I already believe, and I will never stop believing, that she was unjustly removed from the ABC. But five days later, five days later, what we have seen is the insides of the ABC on display for all of us to see. And what a grubby scene it is, and how much pathetic behaviour. Now, I'd like to start with Ida Buttrose, and we don't need to say much about her. It only took a campaign, email campaign, by people calling themselves the Lawyers for Israel. I have one friend who's a Jewish barrister who said she was proud they didn't appeal to her to join the campaign. But what they did was set out to get a person out of their job. Now, it didn't take much to move Ida Buttrose, but I found it so unbelievable that she could write and say something like, "Can't Antoinette get COVID? Can't we just get rid of her?" So this is all the impartiality, all the talk about integrity. That's what it amounted to for Ida Buttrose. And then Then we've got the Managing Director, David Anderson. As far as I'm concerned, he should be stood down today. He's going anyway, thank goodness. Thank goodness, let's hope the next one is a little better. But he has absolutely betrayed the ABC and all the journalists who work in it. Now, Peter's already mentioned some of the things he said, but to think that, you know, you're the Managing Director of the ABC and you know that we have an Antoinette problem, and you go home and you spend your night trawling through Antoinette's social media, and you see a headline in Crikey, which was an article by Antoinette and another person, but he didn't bother to check it out. He didn't bother to see that it was an article questioning whether gas the Jews was said at a protest or not. He just somehow assumed that that meant Antoinette was anti-Semitic. He has never to the day read that article. How could you be so irresponsible? How can you just deal so lightly with another person's life? So basically, he just wanted the problem solved. Then we begin to go down and we have a person called Oliver Taylor, and I watched him this afternoon. He admitted to being confused. The notions, various puffed up language of editorial policies, impartiality, social media policy, it's all a bit of a blur, a bit of a confusion. And at the end of the day, when Antoinette had been sacked and she wrote a note back, she asked formally for some answers to some questions. As soon as he saw the word unfair, he decided not to reply at all, and just shuffled it off. So it's been a very grim thing. Now I'd just like to say a little bit about another group of people, and that is the journalists within the ABC. And no one should think that there hasn't been, I'm looking down here at one ex-correspondent, John Hartfield, but no one should think there has not been a very long history to this in the ABC, a very long battle that has actually been, there are exceptions, people like John Lyons standing up, but basically we all know the reporting on the ABC, the interviews on 7:30 have been below par, and mostly it is by self-censorship. It's when you don't pull someone up when they make a statement that is clearly not based on fact, like an Israeli government spokesperson just spewing mistruths. You should pull them up, but many times that has not happened. So then there's the MEAA House Committee, and many of the journalists within the ABC met months and months ago, called for, had no confidence in David Anderson, and now they are calling for an inquiry into the ABC and this whole fiasco, which has really done so much damage to the ABC and the idea of an independent broadcaster. So I urge everyone to support the MEAA and to support any other journalist who's standing up. Now, Antoinette herself, I actually have known Antoinette since she came to UTS. Antoinette was one of the very first people, second generation immigrants after the Second World War. She was one of the very few Arabic background people to come into the university to study journalism and make it into the media. And believe me, it's a battle. And it's a battle when you're in there, when your whole perspective is being eliminated. It's got to be more, and Indigenous journalists have always said this, it's got to be more than just a name, it's got to be more than just a face, it's got to mean something. And so Antoinette is a person who has very much tried to hold true to the values of journalism, to facts, as she said, and to truth, and also to be herself and who she is. Now, she's a person actually who could have been done really well in journalism. I mean, in a way, she's a fairly light journalist. She can do that sort of thing, which many of us couldn't. And she had done a fine job at the ABC in the same shift last year and was doing it again in 2023. So she'd done it the year before. So she was a problem and she had to be removed. And she has had the courage to stand up, and no one should think that she has not been penalised hugely and suffered because of that. And I think everyone should keep attending the court and offering solidarity to her. Now, I will finish quickly now. I just want to mention another person who's come up in the last few days, Peter Layla. He's a cricket commentator, but he was doing tweets and he was trying to highlight, his social media was trying to highlight facts about what is happening in Palestine. But the problem was a few people found that triggering. So once again, like the Lawyers for Israel, he gets sacked. Now there's a boycott of some of the journalists working for SEN, and again I believe that more and more journalists are seeing not as well, of course, the tragedy of 200 Palestinian journalists being killed. So that is a tragedy that should probably precede every other thing that's said about it. But at the same time, this sort of persecution is spreading. And we've got Sarah Swartz, who stood up and formed the Jewish Council of Australia with Peter and others. We've got Rada Abdel Fattah, who has been persecuted. We've got Chelsea Wadigo, the brave Indigenous academic up in Queensland, and all her Indigenous friends as well. We've got at Sydney University Nick Reimer and John Keane, and many others as well. So what I want to just end with saying is we have to continue to raise our voices. We have to show solidarity, even if it's at some risk to ourselves. And we have to go on in this current period and demand something better from a government that thinks that they have no comment to make on the most gross form of ethnic cleansing that one could imagine for a real estate deal.
Thank you so much. It's so important, obviously, everything she talked about, because we're clearly in a battle now, as we have been for a long time, but it's ramping up. A battle, obviously, to fight for the people of Gaza, but also to fight for the right to speak up for the people of Gaza. We have now a big battle to defend free speech in this country against the right and against Albanese and the Labor government and the media and all the rest of it. And, you know, remember, this is the same kind of right-wing brigade who used to style themselves as the free speech brigade, right? Like, they were the ones, remember Brandis, who said, people have a right to be bigots, don't you know? You know, when he was defending their own coterie from making racist comments left, right and centre, homophobic comments, all the rest of it. Well, we don't want the right to be bigots. We want the right to oppose racism. We want the right to call for freedom for an oppressed people. We want the right to oppose genocide and ethnic cleansing. We want the right to fight for a world of equality, of racial equality and liberation and justice. That is what we are fighting for. And they're trying to take that right away. They're trying to take that away precisely because they stand for a world of inequality, a world of racism, a world of imperialism, violence and war. That's what they're trying to shut down. So we are in the fight for our lives on all of these fronts. But again, the turnout tonight at short notice gives us heart that we know we can wage that battle, we can win that battle. And it's harder for them, I gotta say, to try to shut down our right to criticize Israel when they've got people like Donald Trump saying what he's saying so clearly. Because even the media here have had to kind of figure out, how can we stop anyone from criticizing Israel while we've got this open, bloody fascist calling for ethnic cleansing? So we have to use that space and keep pushing further to keep fighting for our right to speak up for the Palestinian people. And the key thing we can do in that regard is obviously to keep speaking up for the Palestinian people and to keep mobilising as we've done tonight. So, just to be clear, as we announced on Sunday, our next major demonstration that the Palestine Action Group is organising is on Sunday the 2nd of March. That'll be a major demonstration on Sunday back in Hyde Park, marching through the city, all the rest of it. We called that because we wanted to give ourselves a bit more time to build up the numbers to try to have a bigger demonstration than what we have over the last few weeks. So we really urge everyone to help us to build that demonstration, to spread the word, to spend the time between now and then, making sure everyone has the 2nd of March on their calendar, and that they're bringing everyone they know from all of their organisations, all of your friends and family, everyone you can convince to be there on Sunday the 2nd of March, 1 o'clock at Hyde Park. Now we also said, of course, that we might need to call protests at shorter notice in response to events as they happen. And of course, we kind of half predicted that Netanyahu being in Washington meant that something horrific was going to happen, but it was even kind of worse than we thought. So we called the rally tonight, and we'll have to still be on top of that. So please keep following all the social media, Palestine Action Group Sydney on Instagram and on Facebook. Please stay in touch with all the different networks that we know people are part of, and so on. Be ready to mobilise again if we have to before the 2nd of March. But otherwise, and until then, please keep up our mobilising efforts for the 2nd of March, and let's make that absolutely massive. That rally comes at a crucial moment. It comes at the end of the first phase of the ceasefire. As I've already said, Trump has given Israel and Netanyahu the green light to tear that up and to start the massacre again. So that will be a crucial moment to mobilise in our thousands on the 2nd of March there at Town Hall. Please all come out for that. Please keep up the support for Antoinette Lattouf and everyone else, Randa Abdel Fattah, all the others who Wendy has spoken about, who are fighting for their rights today and are facing this wave of repression. I'll just say tonight, of course, we wanted to march, as we have done with some of these previous snap rallies, but we're in this appalling, undemocratic, repressive climate now, where we were denied that right to march on our own streets tonight by the New South Wales authorities here. So that is a disgrace. We should have the right to march against genocide in our own city. But definitely on the Sunday, the 2nd of March, we'll be taking to our streets in big numbers. So thanks again, everyone, for coming out tonight. Let's end with another big, loud chant. Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Occupation is a crime! Supporting genocide! Albanese, you can't hide! You're supporting genocide! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Donald Trump, you will see! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
Free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
from the sea to the river,
Palestine will live forever!
stop, stop arming Israel!
Stop arming Israel!
Stop, stop stealing their land!
Amen! Amen! It's with my friend.
A blinding flash of bright light lit up the sky over Gaza tonight. People running for cover, not knowing whether they're dead or alive. They came with their tanks and their planes, with ravaging fiery flames. Nothing remains, just a voice rising up in the smoky haze. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women, children alike, murdered and massacred night after night, while the so-called leaders of countries afar debated on who's wrong or right. But their powerless words were in vain, and the bombs fell down like acid rain. But through the tears and the blood and the pain, you can still hear that voice through the smoky haze. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our churches, our mosques, and our homes, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can kill our babies, our mothers, our fathers, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in the night without a fight. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Move along. Get yourself a beer. Get drunk. Move along. There's nothing to see here for you.
Free Palestine! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Will be free from the sea through the river. Palestine will last forever.
Right, yeah, kill all the Jews. Good on you. That's right. Choose one race of people and evaluate everyone else. Oh!
والهنا والرجاء في هواك في هواك هلاك سالما مناما وغانما مكرما سالما مناما وغانما مكرما حمراك في عونك تبلغ سواك تبلغ سواك موطني موطني الشباب لن يكل همه أن يستقل أو يبيت نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعداء كالعبيد لا نريد ظلما منبدا وعيشنا منكدا ظلما منبدا وعيشنا منكدا لا نريد بل نعيد مجدنا سعيد مجدنا سعيد Let's give a blinding flash of white light lit up the sky over Gaza tonight. People running for cover, not knowing whether they're dead or alive. They came with their tanks and their planes, with ravaging fiery flames, and nothing remains, just a voice rising up in the smoky haze. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women, children alike, murdered and massacred night after night, while the so-called leaders of countries afar debated on who's wrong or right. But their powerless words were in vain, and the bombs fell down like acid rain. But through the tears and the blood and the pain, you can still hear that voice through the smoky haze. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our churches and mosques and our hospitals, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. without a fight. You can kill our babies, our mothers, our fathers, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in the night without a fight. We will not go down in Gaza
Stand up for Gaza. If you don't, then Gaza will come to you. I'm going to dedicate this to Palestine and to the Holy Land. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that said grace appear, the I first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Remember Palestine, people. Keep Palestine in your prayers. They are battling all the evils of the world right now. Free Palestine.